In the southern part of Africa, in the heart of a semi-arid land bearing the ancient name Kubu, the sun doesn't rise to greet, it rises to test life. The wind sweeping across the savanna doesn't carry the scent of flowers, but the smell of dry earth, labored breathing, and footsteps that are becoming fewer and fewer. Kubu, a wildlife reserve spanning nearly 400 square kilometers, was once home to hundreds of lions. But over the past 2 decades, that number has plummeted. Inbreeding, climate change, and shrinking territory have erased the strong genetic lines. What remains are fragile traces of what once was. This is not only a land of life. It is also a place where death arrives quietly, like a wisp of smoke. No cries, no mourning. Only sun-dried carcasses disappearing into the dust as if they had never existed. And into that place, a woman arrived, quietly. Dr. Alina Ward, 32 years old, a biologist with dual PhDs in genetics and molecular ecology. She doesn't like to talk much, doesn't enjoy crowds, always wears gloves, high-laced boots, and carries a worn, dark leather notebook. Inside it, you won't find administrative notes, only gene maps, charts of genetic decline, and a few hand-drawn sketches of lion eyes. She's not the type to take selfies with animals. Never posts updates like "work with wildlife today." And most importantly, she never refers to animals as it. To her, every creature is a unique code, a life that exists for a reason. She didn't come here to count lions. She came to save something that's disappearing by the day. In her 3rd week at Kubu, Alina began the routine field survey, a familiar procedure, collecting genetic samples, analyzing blood, and checking biological markers. It was the kind of work she had done for years, but this time, something felt different. One female lion, roughly 3.5 years old, had been tagged with the identifier KB27. The animal moved slowly, noticeably thinner than the others in the pride. Her coat was pale, and her eyes always seemed to gaze into the distance, as if drained of energy. The rangers called her Sira, which means alone in Tswana. At first, they thought she was simply a weak individual, part of nature's rule. The weak get left behind. But when Alina ran Sira's blood sample through the field lab's analyzer, the data left her speechless. A rare recessive gene sequence appeared, strikingly similar to the kind once found in the ancient Barbary lion, a species that went extinct in the 20th century. That gene carried the potential to encode a more adaptable immune system, one more resilient to disease. But today, it has vanished from most African lion populations. Sira, frail, isolated, turned out to be one of the last living lynx still carrying that genetic trace. And if she died, that trace would die with her. Alina sat in front of the microscope screen, her hand tightening as the final sequence results came into view. Sira, the frail lioness everyone had overlooked, was carrying a rare, nearly extinct recessive gene. Not just a relic of ancient evolution, it was an immune trait once found in lions thousands of years ago, now surviving only in that deteriorating body. If she dies, Alina whispered to herself, a piece of evolutionary history disappears forever. That evening, she presented her findings to Kubu Reserve's Conservation Board. She spoke with a trembling voice, not out of insecurity, but because she understood the weight of what she was about to say. Sira may be the bridge between the present and the future survival of the entire species. She's not just a patient, she's a genetic symbol. But when she finished speaking, the room fell silent. Then the objections began. Too many resources for a single individual. Her health is too poor. There's no chance of recovery. We have dozens of lions in better condition. Alina stood in silence. She didn't argue. She walked out of the room, alone in the cold cement hallway. Wind from the open field drifted in through a crack in the door, and the image of Sira's eyes came back to her, not filled with pain, but as if waiting for an answer. She came back, no slides, no genetic models. Just one sentence. This isn't just an individual in pain. This could be the last genetic code for the future of survival. She knew she might lose their support. She might have to shoulder the cost, the responsibility, and the consequences alone, but in her heart, there was no turning back. Sira had already chosen to trust her. With her gaze, with her silence, and with a body growing weaker but still refusing to give up. That morning, Alina walked into the Kubu Conservation Center's meeting room, holding a printed copy of Sira's genetic results. Strands of genetic code highlighted in red ink. She presented briefly, clearly, each number drawn from a database of over 2,000 wild individuals. A chart appeared on the screen. An ancient recessive gene with a rarity below 0.002%, matching that of the extinct Barbary lion. A moment of silence. Then a sigh rose from the boardroom table. A weak, solitary animal. Are you sure? Can it even survive? And if not, what do you plan to do with it? Keep it in a lab. Another voice cut in, more bluntly. Our resources are limited. We prioritize strong individuals. What you're offering is a hypothesis, not a solution. Alina clenched her fist. Not because they were wrong, but because they looked at Sira through the lens of statistics. She didn't. That night, she didn't sleep. In a tent at the research outpost, she flipped through infrared photos of Sira. Cloudy eyes that still held light, a lonely posture that still faced the wind. The next morning, when someone asked if she'd given up, Alina answered with a single sentence, just loud enough for everyone to hear, "This isn't just an individual in pain. This could be the last genetic code for the future of survival." And for a scientist, even a single hope is enough to begin a journey. That night the rain came, not the usual brief showers of the savannah, but a heavy, unrelenting downpour, as if the whole sky was mourning. Alina sprang up from the field station at the sound of the survival alert from the biosensor. She rushed outside, her feet sinking into slick mud, her head hitting the tarp strung between two trees. Her flashlight flickered wildly, sweeping across grass flattened by rain. Sira had collapsed. The lioness lay there, trembling, soaked to the bone, her body temperature falling into a critical range. Her chest rose and fell in ragged waves, as if every breath required a reason to keep going. No instinct, no resistance, just a body slowly dimming into darkness. Alina knelt beside her. Her hands were cold and wet from the rain, but she still tried to find a pulse. Sira's breath was as faint as the wind brushing through the grass. The handheld monitors could no longer detect a stable heartbeat. She had tried for weeks with IV fluids, protein support, immune boosters. But now, it felt like everything was crumbling. No more data, no more charts, just a scientist weeping in silence. Alina slowly placed her hand on Sira's fragile back. Rain lashed against her face, but she didn't wipe it away. She sat there, head bowed low, lips moving softly, and whispered, "I'm sorry, girl. I thought I could save you. But maybe it wasn't about saving. Maybe it was about being here. Until the end. If I can't save you, at least you'll know. You were loved." Her voice cracked, breaking into a quiet sob. She didn't wail. She didn't scream. She simply rested her head against the body beside her. A body slowly growing colder in the rain. The rain kept falling, but the wind had calmed, and the sky began to lighten. No one knew how much time had passed. Alina was still there, eyes closed, hand resting gently on Sira's back. As if letting go would mean losing her for good. Then something shifted, softly, slowly. A small movement beneath the lioness's narrow rib cage. Then a breath, not from Alina, but from the creature everyone thought had nothing left to give. Alina opened her eyes. Those amber brown eyes were looking back at her, not blinking, not weak, but with a gaze full of something else. Gratitude. Sira stirred. She tried to lift her head, then braced herself to stand, her legs trembling but not collapsing. She took one step toward Alina. Just one, but enough to bridge the gap between death and survival. In that moment, time stood still. No more rain, no more equipment, no more analysis, just eyes meeting eyes. Not between doctor and patient, but between two souls, both once exhausted, both once fallen, both once ready to give up, but didn't. Alina raised her hand, not to touch, just to let Sira know she was still there, still herself, still the one who believed in life, even the most fragile kind. A single drop, whether rain or a tear, slid down Alina's cheek. "You came back," she whispered. Sira exhaled softly, a warm breath that drifted into the morning breeze. She didn't roar. She didn't walk away. She just stood there and looked, as if to say, "I haven't given up, because you didn't give up on me." Sira walked slowly through the early sunlight, her shadow stretching long across the wet earth. Her steps no longer staggered. She was no longer a lioness on the verge of death. She was a warrior, finally returned. That day, all of Sira's vital signs exceeded the minimum thresholds. She ate for the first time in 3 days, drank from a puddle at the edge of the camp, then slowly walked the perimeter of her enclosure, as if claiming a new territory. A life had just been given back. But for Alina, it wasn't just about saving an individual. It was proof that, even in science, there is room for compassion. And in the wild, there is still a chance for the miraculous. If humans are brave enough to believe in the most uncertain things. 6 weeks after that fateful rainy night, Sira was no longer the frail shadow clinging to life on the muddy plain. Each morning, Alina recorded her stats. Stable blood pressure, white blood cell count rising, liver enzymes back within safe range. But most importantly, Sira began to make soft huff sounds whenever Alina approached, a sign of connection. She no longer avoided the sunlight, no longer curled up all day. She walked, she sniffed, she played. At first it was just swatting at a dry branch. Then came clumsy play along the edge of the enclosure, where a few younger lions were being trained for survival. One morning, the rangers teared up when they saw Sira stretch forward and touch noses with another lion cub, her first social behavior since being rescued. Alina knew the time had come. She submitted a formal request, proposal for semi-wild habitat rehabilitation of subject Sira, gene code KB27. At the special review meeting, she presented a video, Sira standing beside her. No leash, no cage. The lioness turned her head, gently brushed against Alina's hand before walking away, slowly toward the tall grass, where the rest of the pride watched from a distance. One program director whispered, "That's no longer a biological sample. That's history, stepping out of the lab." On the day Sira was released back into the semi-wild, no one said much, only a silence, full of reverence. Alina opened the gate. Sira walked through slowly. But then, she turned back. She looked at Alina for a long while, no longer with the tired eyes of that first meeting, but with a gaze that said she now knew exactly where she belonged. One week later, Alina published a scientific report titled Sira Case: The Return of Recessive Immunogene in Panthera, Leo, and its Role in Future Conservation. The paper quickly circulated through global conservation networks and research institutions. Geneticists from Southern California, France, India, and Kenya reached out to request data sharing. Headline after headline appeared in major journals. A lion gene thought extinct may have returned. When compassion leads to scientific breakthrough. From the savannah to the UN, how Sira's story is reshaping global conservation programs. But everything truly exploded when a 14-second video, recorded by a park ranger, was uploaded. Alina sits in the grass, the sun setting in the distance. Sira walks over, gently rests her head on Alina's shoulder, as soft as a thank you. Then turns and walks away. No music, no narration, just the sunset and the shared breath between a human and a wild creature. Within 48 hours, the video reached over 6 million views. In less than a week, more than 30 million. One comment read, "She didn't just save a lion, she made us believe that there's still hope if we choose to love before it's too late." Many years have passed. Kubu is no longer a red alert zone for lion populations. Coordinated genetic programs have now been launched across 3 countries, from a single lioness once thought to be dying, Sira. New bloodlines have been revived, successfully merged with local genetic sources. Among the newly born cubs, 2 stood out. Both carry the ancient immune gene segment KB27. Both are strong, energetic, and natural leaders in their pride. They are known as the legacy pair, living symbols of a possibility once thought impossible. One quiet morning, Alina returned to Kubu. Her hair now held threads of silver, but her posture remained strong. In her hand was the old notebook, its pages curled, the cover faded from rain, where she once recorded Sira's earliest data points. She didn't need a map, no GPS, just her eyes, her instinct, and a heart bound to this land like flesh and blood. Atop a high ridge, she stood still. Below, where the green savanna stretched wide, a pride of lions lay scattered, resting after an early hunt. Sunlight pierced through the morning mist, glinting off one particular figure. A young lion, its coat a deep golden hue, walked through the pride with the confidence of a future leader. Alina raised her binoculars. She saw its eyes, golden brown, just like Sira's all those years ago. Then suddenly, as if pulled by an unseen force, the young lion turned its head and looked up toward the ridge. A brief gaze, but not a lost one. Alina smiled. She opened her notebook and wrote the final line on the very last page. I once believed I was healing a lion, but it was she who healed hope itself. High above, a flock of birds soared across the sky. The wind swept over the savanna, carrying with it the scent of earth, of sunlight, and somewhere in that breeze, a memory that would never fade. Legacy doesn't live in numbers. Legacy lives in what still breathes, still survives, and still inspires. There are things science can measure. Genetic codes, biomarkers, extinction risk, but there are things only the heart can truly understand. A single gaze, a moment of turning back, a life once thought fragile, turned out to be the key to the future. Science can save a species, but only trust can save a soul. If you believe that love and science don't have to be on opposite sides, if you believe that life, any life, deserves a chance, even just once, then share this story, not for the views, not for the likes, but to remind each other that somewhere between data and emotion, hope still breathes. Like, if you believe that a single look can change an entire journey. Share, to let one more person know that every life holds value. Subscribe, if you want to keep hearing true stories of connection between humans and the wild.